The bass from the club thrummed up through the floor, a vibration you felt in your teeth more than heard. It was past 2 a.m., and the rain had turned the parking lot into a black mirror, reflecting the neon sign that simply read, Velvet. Inside, in a room that smelled of cheap perfume, sweat, and regret, a woman named Melinda was counting her money. It wasn't the kind of counting you see in movies, with a triumphant smile. This was methodical, solemn. Each bill was separated, smoothed, and stacked according to denomination. This stack for rent. This one for her daughter's daycare. This thinner one for groceries. And this one, tucked into a separate envelope, for the lawyer. Full custody wasn't cheap. To Melinda, this wasn't just paper, it was a lifeline. It was survival. She leaned back on her heels, the sequins of her costume scratching against the worn carpet. Her body ached with a deep, familiar exhaustion. In the quiet of the dressing room, the makeup caked on her face felt less like a mask and more like a cement shell. She caught her reflection in the lit mirror, surrounded by the glowing bulbs, and for a split second, she didn't recognize the woman staring back. The music from the main room was a dull roar, a beast she fed nightly, and she wondered not for the first time if the beast was slowly eating her in return. This is the gritty reality. It's not a moral debate in a clean, well-lit church hall. It's a war fought in the dim corners of life, where choices are often just selections from a menu of bad options. And Melinda, she had her justifications. Oh, she had them down to a science. Her inner monologue was a fortress she'd built brick by brick. I'm a mother, she'd tell herself, her eyes hard. What's more important, my pride or my daughter having a roof over her head and food in her stomach? This body, it's just a tool. It's a means to an end. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm providing a service. These men, they're lonely. I give them an escape for a few minutes and it's a transaction, clean, simple. God, if he's even there. He knows my heart. He knows I'm doing this for Chloe. He wouldn't give me a child to protect and then fault me for using every resource I have to protect her. This isn't about me. It's about her. Always her. It was a powerful argument. It almost made sense. It did make sense in the twisted economy of desperation. It created a world where the wrong thing felt like the only right thing to do. Her desire to be a good mother was being used to justify the slow erosion of her own soul. The tension was real. Every night she bargained with her conscience, and every night her love for her daughter won. Then on a Thursday, a slow night. Melinda was heading to her car, the envelope of cash secure in her bag. The rain had stopped, leaving the air clean and sharp. A church van was parked down the street, and a small group of people were packing up after what looked like a street ministry. As she walked past, trying to be invisible, one of them, an older woman with a kind, tired face, caught her eye. The woman didn't stare. She didn't look away in judgment. She simply smiled, a small, genuine thing, and handed her a bottle of water. Long night? The woman asked, her voice gentle. Melinda, startled by the normalcy of the interaction, just nodded. You're loved, you know, the woman said. No sales pitch, no lecture. Just a statement. As if she was saying the sky is up or the rain is wet. Then she turned and went back to helping her friends. The words should have bounced off. They should have been swallowed by the noise of the city and the fatigue in Melinda's bones. But they didn't. They stuck. They echoed in the silent car on her drive home. You're loved. Later that week, while Chloe was napping, the silence in her small apartment was deafening. The justification fortress felt flimsy. The words, you're loved, clashed violently with the reality of her life. On a whim, driven by a hunger she couldn't name, she dug out an old Bible she'd stolen from a hotel room years ago. It felt foreign in her hands. She didn't know where to start, so she just opened it, the pages crackling. Her eyes fell not on a gentle psalm, but on a verse that hit her with the force of a physical blow. 1 Corinthians 6, she read it and her blood ran cold. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your bodies. It was the wrecking ball. It wasn't just about rules, it wasn't about being a sinner, it was about ownership, identity. Her entire worldview, that her body was a tool, a transaction, her own to use as she saw fit, shattered in an instant. The verse declared her body was a temple, a holy place, not because of anything she had done, but because God had placed infinite value on it. You were bought at a price. The conflict was unbearable. Her desire to provide for Chloe crashed against this new, terrifying truth. How could honoring God with her body look like this? The two things couldn't coexist. The foundation of her survival was built on sand, and the tide of grace was coming in. The Holy Spirit, that quiet, persistent voice, was no longer a whisper. It was a roar in the silence, convicting her not with anger, but with a heartbreaking, profound love. He was showing her the chasm between the life she was living and the life she was designed for. So, we arrive at the resolution. And this is where the story gets real, because it doesn't end with Melinda instantly quitting her job and everything being perfect. That's not how this works. The resolution is in the response. Melinda closed the Bible. She didn't have a plan. She was terrified. The rent was due in 2 weeks. The lawyer needed another payment. But that night she went to work and everything was different. The lights felt harsher. The music felt emptier. The transactions felt sacrilegious. She saw the temple of the Holy Spirit in the mirror and she wept inside. The resolution was a small, quiet, terrifying act of obedience. During her first dance, in the middle of the song, she stopped. She simply walked off the stage, went to the dressing room, changed into her street clothes, and walked out. She didn't have a new job. She didn't have answers. All she had was a terrifying trust that the God who called her his temple would not let it be destroyed, that the one who bought her at a price would provide the payment for her rent. It was messy. It was scary. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. But for the first time in a long time, as she walked out of the neon glow and into the dark, uncertain night, she felt clean. The war wasn't over, but a decisive battle had been won. Not by her strength, but by a truth so powerful it collapsed every wall she had built around her heart. The answer to the question, can a stripper be saved, was never in doubt. The answer is a resounding, earth-shattering, grace-filled yes. The question was never about her worthiness. It was always about her willingness to collide with the truth and be forever changed by it. If this story of love and grace resonated with you, if it challenged you or gave you hope, then share it. Someone in your world might need to hear that their value isn't defined by their past or their present circumstances. And if you want to join us as we explore more of these raw, real stories of faith crashing into the grid of everyday life, then subscribe to Faith Infused. Let's continue this journey together.